Salam everyone and welcome back to SomaliDispatch.com. Somaliland lawyers have long complained of intimidation and pressure from successive Somaliland governments. Lawyers have recently expressed fears of return to a tribal justice in the absence of a reliable constitutional justice system. Mubarik Abdi Ismail is a human rights lawyer and he works with Human Rights Center in Hargeisa. He joins us from Ankara, Turkey to discuss these and other issues. Welcome to Somali Dispatch, Mubarak.
Thank you for having me, Abdul Khatir. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and we appreciate your time today. Could you start us off by telling us a little bit about the challenges faced by human rights defenders in Somaliland?
Absolutely, the Somaliland lawyers and human rights defenders mostly they were facing a lot of challenges from the law enforcement authorities, including police, government authorities, churches, or prosecutors. And if I shortlisted some of real challenges on the ground, is arbitrary detention. In Somaliland, every year the government has arrested a lawyer and human rights defender. Also, sometimes they was making a license provocation or license suspended, humiliation, pressure from the government, lack of desire to get a closure of evidence from their clients, and also sometimes the government denied to access to visit their clients in the police stations and Somaliland prisoners. Also, sometimes they was facing intimidation, online harassment, and censorship.
Right. I understand, it always was tough practicing law in a small country and recognized in East Africa, but things seem to have gotten worse. Why do you suppose that is?
Actually, I suppose the lack of rule of law and lack of judiciary independence, because before I quit my daily profession, I love it. I was quite the legal practitioner for 2 years ago, 2019 September, when I was defended a child journalist called Abdimalik Musa, although a well-known popular journalist. So in that time, I believe it's two factors. One of them is the lack of judiciary independence, and the other one is the lack of rule of law. Because in Somaliland, it's hard to practice a law, and actually there was a mixed system in the clan, elders, traditional elders, religious leaders, and the legal statutories that was approved by the parliament. So the big problem is there. It was the mixed system. So it's a very challenging to lawyers to practice their profession clearly and simply.
It's interesting that you mentioned that Somaliland is renowned in the East Africa, at least for having democratic institutions and elections and all of that. It's interesting to see that on the justice side of things did not progress as well as it should have been by having an elected parliament, an elected president, and having an official opposition parties. Isn't that a little bit interesting to at least note and say, why is society lagging so behind? What is driving this lack of justice process, do you think?
Absolutely, it's related the lack of law, the lack rule of law, because if you see the constitution of Somaliland has guaranteed the mandate of the parliament is 5 years, and the parliament has expired their mandate for third time. They were sitting more than 15 years, and also our house in the Somaliland they never elected, and the constitution of Somaliland is guaranteed their mandate is 6 years, and they come to election or selection, and still they were from 1997 when their clan is selected for them to go to that house, and still they were, so it's unconstitutional. And in Somaliland, the authorities they believe the democracy is only for free and fair elections. But actually, I would like to remind them that democracy is consisted in 11 principles, including the rule of law, human right protection, and freedom of expression. And the election is a one principle for the democracy. The election is not only for the principle that was election is, but it's a part of them. And the election is a process. It's not a result. So in Somaliland, there was a lot of challenges related, the rule of law. For example, if we see the opposition parties, uh, actually in each year or each month there was an argument between the ruling party and opposition party, and they never settled their disputes through the legal mechanism or through the judicial institutions for reason of weak of institutions, for reason of lack of rule of law, and for reason of tribalism increasing day by day in Somaliland country.
Right.
And that's why I left the profession. And some of popular lawyers, like my former chairperson, Gulad Ahmed Chama, he was a well-known lawyer, who has quitted his legal profession or to practice a law practitioner for 2 days ago. For the same reason, I was leaving and stopped totally to practice in the law.
It's truly it saddens me to hear that aspect of justice system in Somaliland. There is a lot of controversial laws currently being debated and talked about in Somaliland. The most notorious or the most infamous being the controversial rape and zina law. Tell our viewers a bit about that law and the history it has, and what seems to be some of the challenges that is in that law.
Very happy to be answer for that question, because I am one of the legal practitioners in that time that was working and advocating to approve the rape bill, and I was one of them. The advocates, they was put all their energies to approve that bill. But unfortunately, after 2 years, Somaliland constitution has a preamble that upholds the desire of a state which fulfills the aspiration of the nation and is thereby appreciated by all, which is founded on equality and justice. In addition to Article 36 of the Constitution, it guarantees the right of women as well as obligates the government to encourage and legislate for the right of women to be free from practices which are contrary to Sharia law and are damaging their personality and dignity. So the cases of Somaliland gender-based violence increased this year, according to the data with the service providers of Somaliland, like medical service providers and shelter providers. They say there was 161 cases of rape that was committed only in 2020, and in 2019 it's a more than that data, according to the government, especially the prosecution, the general prosecution, and the service providers. So there was 140 suspects in custody, and that a total of 170 suspects being held on charges of rape. Nevertheless, the cases with service provider tribal in the police records. So therefore, Somaliland lacks proper legal framework to protect women and rights from rape and other forms of sexual offences. The Penal Code, which is an outdated law, was approved in 1960 for the Somali government. They was drafted in Benito Mussolini, the fascist. That was, ruled in Italy before 1960, is adjudicated in Somaliland, and the judiciary sector there was regulated in the rape cases, and they referred in that outdated penal code in 1961. And mostly the lawyers and civil society in Somaliland, they believe that code is actually contrary to the human rights, contrary to the Somalian constitution, and contrary at the same time for the Sharia law. And actually, the government of Somaliland, especially the parliament, there was approved the rape and other sexual offences bill in 2018, has not been implemented yet, because on 25 August 2020, Somaliland House of Representatives approved the Zina bill, and they was making an amendment for the former law for reason of blaming a lot of blaming for the religious leaders and some of civil society. They was arguing this bill is contrary to the Somaliland Sharia law, to the Somaliland Sharia system, and also the culture. So there was a lot of rumors that the public, the society, they was believing in that rumors. After that, the president has put back the bill as a veto president in the parliament, and the parliament, they make an amendment, and you have to know that amendment is actually, it's not the interest of the survivors of the rape. It's not, there have no interest, and it's not supported the survivors of rape and other sexual offenses they were happening in Somaliland for the past decades. After that, the approval bill has serious flaws. It's narrowly defined rape, mixed rape with consensual sex, refuses women to testify as a witness before a court, includes articles that can be used to punish survivors, and rejects the use of forensic science as an evidence. So there was a lot of loopholes, legal loopholes in that bill, and I would like to say it's the worst bill I have ever seen in Somaliland.
Right. You said 161 or so confirmed rapes that were prosecuted, or the victims came forward. A lot have been said, given the culture of Somalis in general and in Somaliland. A lot of victims don't come forward, and their families don't allow them. What do you suppose the real number is, in estimation or in your thought?
Actually, we don't have the actual census, the actual data, because
Right.
we have to know the Somaliland community or the rape survivors, mostly they are women or girls. So they don't go to the police stations or prosecutors to protect for their dignity, for their dignity. So that's why they didn't go to the justice sector. And the other reason is only we have the number of the number that the people they were going in the justice sector. That's the only the data we have. But we can say this the actually the real number is happening in Somaliland. We can say that. Yeah.
Right.
So this is the only number they will go into the justice sector to get a justice and access to justice for
Right.
Somaliland court and prosecution officers.
Right. To go back to being a practicing law in Somaliland, and the challenges that all human rights defenders go through. There is an association, a lawyers association in Somaliland, and it actually currently this week, this ending week, wrapped up its fifth conference. There has been challenges with that organization as well, and the role it plays to highlight some of the challenges lawyers feel. What can you tell us about that organization, and the fact that it has a new leadership?
Actually, I was a member of Somaliland Lawyers Association, was founded in 2004 with a young, fresh law graduates in the universities of the country, and some of them they come from to the judiciary sector, especially in the military courts and deputy attorney general, deputy prosecutors. So this association is established under the Act of Parliament in 2004 called the Lawyers Association Act Law number 30, 2004, an amendment of 2008. Actually, this association is established for two reasons. The first reason is to protect the rights of the lawyers in Somaliland, to protect for them, and the other one, or the second one, to protect the rule of law and the regulations in Somaliland. And unfortunately, for the past decades, this association is not going well. He has disappeared a long time, and they did not protect the lawyers or the human rights defenders. They was arrested in each year, each day, and each month. If I remind you, this last General Assembly, the five uh, Congress of the National Bar Association in Somaliland, there was some lawyers they was revoked in their license, and they did not mention for their Congress or for their statement for any statement. And also there was a lawyers that was the government they prosecuted for an intimidation or something like that, and even they did not mention a single statement or a single word to support the lawyers for the members of the association. So I believe independently, I believe this bar or this association is is the same way. It's the same thing for the other associations in Somaliland. And mostly the civil society of Somaliland, they disappeared a long time ago, and mostly there was a part of the system, and also there was under the government and the ruling party. Because I believe the government has don't want to improve for the associations like this, especially the professional associations like the medical doctors and the lawyers and also the journalists. For reason of if these associations is improving day by day, or they was working well, they defended the rights of citizens, they protected their lawyers and the members of the association. I think the government is not allowing that. So that's why the leaders they were elected 2 days ago. Is my friend of mine for me, and I have a respect with them. But I don't believe they want to make a change for the Somaliland situation, especially the judiciary independency and the lack of rule of law. But they were under the government, and I think they come to the power, the pressure for the government. And actually, I would like to remind you, mostly the chairman, the vice chairman, and the secretary general of the bar association, there was elected 2 days ago. Mostly they were from the judiciary sector. Two of them, there was judges in the regional court in Hargeisa and Sahel, and the other one, he was a judge of Audal region or Borama district. So there was resigned for their position is for reason of lack of judiciary of independence, and they were lawyers for only 2 years. But this bar association, this national bar association, need to perform and need to become an strong institution to protect the rights of citizens and to protect the rights of the lawyers and human defenders in Somaliland. And that's from two ways to make an policies and laws or regulations that was, support the to become the institution and strong institution, impartial institution, neutral institution, and also, unbiased institution. And I would like to add another one point. The former leader of the bar association, the association is elected only for 2 years, and he is on the system for 4 years and a half, and that's totally illegal. He made an illegal extension. He was elected in 2016 August when I was in Somaliland, especially in the bar, and he have to, he have to leave the association in 2018, but he left in 2021 March 12, and totally that's illegal. And I would like to recommend with them to respect their regulations and laws.
Excellent. I thank you very much, and I thank you immensely for coming forward and sharing us with some of these informations regarding the justice system in Somaliland in overall and what needs to be done. Again, I thank you very much, Mubarik Abdi Ismail. Have a great night.
So it's my pleasure. Thank you very much. Have a nice night.